It is recorded. Yeah.
Alright. Can folks hear me? Alright. Now I asked Gimli to talk for a couple minutes, because when we met him, he was a shy little guy who liked to hide in the corner and not be seen, and was afraid of anybody noticing him. And lately he's been working on discovering who he really is. He's someone who's very vocal and cares about people and wants to express it. So I wanted to give him a chance to be here where he'd be recorded, where he'd be seen by who knows how many people, and could share something that would maybe help them. That's why we saw Gimli. Why we had all the technical trouble, I don't know. Not my department. I would like to say, if anybody is interested, that Sitska is working on a new Elfpath process for getting your weight under control. But if anybody feels they're too fat or too thin or not a healthy weight, that Sitska is developing a process that will involve going inside and figuring out who you are and what you're scared of, and finding a way back to a healthy weight in a healthy way, instead of simply diet and exercise and all the suffering that current methods are. It's a work still in progress, but it has the potential to be amazing. So if anybody wants to be a part of the research she's doing and try it out, now's the time to get in on the ground floor. Just get a hold of her. I said a while back that a lot of us will be finding new things in our life. New opportunities, new offers, new people, new perspectives. And many people have noticed these, but not everyone. What I want to suggest to you is that the new things are not always obvious. It's rare that someone walks up to you with a package with a bow on it and says, "Here's your new thing." It can be something as strange as getting sick. If being sick causes you to look deep inside and find something that perhaps you have never known before, and to face it in a new way. And so what I'd like to talk a little bit tonight about is what might be called gratitude or celebration. That it's easy to look at a good meal or a great movie, a fun night dancing, a good sexual experience. It's easy to look at these things and celebrate them, but the good, the fun, the easy, they don't always bring us the new things we need. That sometimes it's when a night of dancing or a sexual experience or even a movie goes badly that we look at it and say, why is this happening? Has something changed in my life? Am I different? Is something wrong? And in looking at it, we begin to find that perhaps we've changed, or we have a place we want to grow to, something we want to grow into, some new thing to try. And so what I'd like to suggest is that it's possible to celebrate the difficult things. That if you wake up with a cold, you go, yay! Here's a new chance to spend some time where I don't have to go out because I'm too sick to go out of bed, and it's a good chance to look inside and find something I've been looking for. With the physical symptoms being so obvious, what Roja calls symptom soup can be very easy to follow. to look at the symptoms and see what it is that they indicate. And so a time of sickness can actually be celebrated. A bad experience can actually be something that teaches you what you're looking for, where you need to go next. I worked with someone this week who had an angry little girl piece inside. Very angry, very nasty little girl. And she could have been angry and frustrated. After all the work I've done, why should I have to face another angry piece? Instead, she looked at it, and she worked with it, and she went inside, and what it's done, excuse me, what it's done has given her a whole new level of perspective on herself, a whole new way to understand herself. It's given her a piece of power and awareness she wouldn't have had otherwise, because she looked at this scary thing and let it lead her to a piece of greater awareness. I watched a movie this week, and something about it triggered something, and it took me 2 days to recover. It had a very strong effect, and it wasn't pleasant. But because of it, I was able to look and find some things that I've been missing, some things that I've been traveling all over the world seeking for a while. And so I had to stop and say, yeah, this is wonderful. This is a thing to celebrate. It's been a little uncomfortable, but yay! This is good news. This is giving me something I've missed. This last week, where I've been having a little trouble breathing and having a bit of a difficult time, Roha has said, "You look terrible. You look awful. What's wrong with you? And, this is bad." And I said, "No, you need to look deeper. Because in this process, I have unlocked some pieces that I have been seeking for a long time." And so every time she says, "But you look awful," I say, "Yeah, but this is the good stuff. This is the amazing part. This is where I'm finally finding what I'm looking for." And it's not always obvious. When you're sick, when you're sad, when someone you care about has passed, when you're going through a difficult time, when you're facing a change and change is scary, it's not always easy to remember to look underneath and see if something amazing is happening. I'm suggesting to you, though, that it is. In Richard Bach's Illusions, he says that problems always come with a gift in their hands, and that people actually look for problems in their life because they want their gifts. In essence, this is what I'm suggesting to you. That if what's come to you, what's new, is a little painful, a little difficult, a little uncomfortable, try and take a moment and celebrate it. Try and take a moment and look a little deeper inside it. And see if underneath the painful part, the difficulty breathing, the sadness, the struggle, whatever it is you're going through, see if somewhere in there is a gift. If something is unlocking, if something maybe magical or wonderful is beginning to happen. And if you're not sure or you can't find it, find someone like Roha or one of the other higher belts and ask them, "I'm going through this difficult thing. Where's my gift? How do I find it?" And see if you can get someone wiser to help you, because there's no point doing it alone when you have all these friends and helpers around you. So enlist their help and see if they can help you find the gift in the middle of the problem. And when you find it, celebrate it. When you find it, express gratitude. It's far too easy to complain about the bad stuff and nod our head, "Oh yeah, there's some good stuff, but here's all the bad stuff." It's far too easy to only focus on the bad and complain. But amidst that, there are wonderful things happening. It's not always easy to see, but the world's going through a change bigger than anything it ever has. Well, at least since the surface was molten and the atmosphere hadn't formed yet. This is a big deal. The world is going through a time where it's awakening its heart chakra. And everything is going to change in the next 1,000 years, 2,000 years. In this, right now, the kind of chaotic, the messy, the confusing, the difficult part, this is when that's happening. And so, there is much to celebrate. And I want to encourage every one of you. Yes, notice when uncomfortable things or difficult things or painful things are happening. But look inside them and see if you can find anything to celebrate. And if you can't find it for yourself, talk to your friends. I know Gimli shared a story where he really helped a man this week, and without even knowing what he was doing, he gave him an answer that didn't make sense, but was exactly what he needed. And I came back and gave him the same answer, so I confirmed it. And this is a thing to celebrate. It's likely that if that man goes home and pays attention, he's going to start giving his son what he needs, and his son's going to grow up healthy and strong and be an amazing person because you took a few minutes to talk to this guy. And this is something, well, we're celebrating. Yeah, so if you can't find something in your own life to celebrate, talk to the people around you. Everybody's got little triumphs, little moments that are wonderful. When you have them, share them with others so they can celebrate your successes. When you don't have them, talk to others and celebrate their successes. It is... Well, I'm not a big fan of this whole law of attraction thing because I haven't seen results. When being trained as an engineer, I really want provable, consistent results. And so, when I say law of attraction, I use it cautiously. The idea of it is that you magnetize into your life what you're radiating outward into the world. If, let's say, you're grumpy, and you go around all day complaining bitterly about how everything is, what's going to happen is the friendly people are going to start staying away from you. And those who are bitter or frustrated will say, yeah, I know how you're feeling, and they'll start giving you their bitter stories. And what happens is you're going to get frustrated, bitter, angry people, frustrated, bitter, angry stories. And your life is going to grow more frustrated and bitter and angry. And so this is a very simple example where simply by holding a little frustrated, bitter, angry, you create it in the world around you. You magnetize it to you. Now, on the opposite extreme, if when you walked out the door in the morning, you plastered a smile on your face, even if you weren't 100% sure you were happy, you just made yourself smile. And you smiled at your neighbor who was going to work or school at the same time. And they smiled back and had a little better day because somebody smiled at them. And somebody cut you off in traffic, and instead of flipping them off, you smile and wave and think, have a nice day. And as you go through your day, maybe you stop for lunch, you go to a bookstore, or maybe just walking down the street with coworkers, with fellow students. If with each one of them you take the time to smile and try and share a little bit of happiness, I guarantee if you do this within 3 days, people are going to come back to you and start asking questions. What drug are you taking? What are you doing? What's going on in your life? Why are you so happy? The neighbor who smiled at you may be knocking on your door. Hey, you look so happy this morning. I just, wanted to say hello. And your coworkers are going to be hanging out at your desk because they're having a bad day and they see you smiling and they want to come over and share that happiness. And you're going to start attracting happy people into your life. And these two examples should be ones that anyone can see. It's easy enough to imagine. If you walk around bitter, angry, frustrated, you'll attract people like that. If you walk around trying to be happy and share that happiness, you're going to attract enthusiasm and happiness from people. And so what might seem like some strange esoteric concept, if you hold an energy and radiate it to the universe, you'll magnetize it back to you. It sounds all mystic mumbo-jumbo, but it's not. It's a simple thing you can see in these two examples. If you simply hold an emotional energy here, whether it be bitterness and frustration or happiness, and you just project that into your world as you go, you're going to start drawing it back. And I guarantee that if you do it every day for 30 days, either one of these, I don't care which, you're going to find that your life is completely surrounded by people who are reflecting that energy back. You make it a point to be happy and friendly to every single person you meet every day for 30 days. It's going to be a lot of work at the start, but by the end of that 30 days, you're going to be surrounded by people. You're so happy. I love being around you. My God, I feel great being around you. You're really wonderful. It's not a complicated, not a mystical thing. What we give out is what we tend to get back. This is why I'm suggesting that when life gives you new things, it's not always gentle. Sometimes it's painful or difficult. Sometimes it's awkward or uncomfortable or confusing. And if you focus on those things, wow, this has been painful, it's been difficult, why do I have to go through this? I knew a fellow once who said, I remember going through all this mystical stuff in other lifetimes. And so I made it to being a master back then. I refuse to work now. He said, I've done all that, I don't want to do it again. And the difficulty was that he was unwilling to radiate that energy into this lifetime. He wanted life to come in and give him everything he needed, but didn't want to work, didn't want to be involved. And so when life gave him something, and it encouraged him to work a little bit, if it wasn't completely easy and happy and fun, he would throw up his hands and go lock himself in his room. And as far as I know, years later, he still hasn't made any progress. Life will, if you want to change, bring you new challenges. Life will bring you interesting things. Some of them will be painful. Some of them will be really amazing. When they come, if you jump into them and explore them, you'll change and grow. In that process, if you take and celebrate the change and growth, it's like smiling at people. The more you celebrate this, the more you'll get back. You celebrate the change and growth, you'll get more and more change and growth and wonderful stuff. If instead you mourn, oh, I had to be sick, it was painful, it was difficult, it was this tough time, I had to do all this work, this is where your energy's focused. And this is what you're going to get more of. You're going to get more of painful and sick and frustrated and tired and hard work and struggle. If you focus only on the shadow side of the experience, well, what you give out is what you get back. It's not complicated. If instead you can look and find the pieces to celebrate, and they may be small things, right? I put the key in my car today and I turned it and it started. Well, yay! I don't have to go see a mechanic. My car works. You know, it's a small thing, but you can celebrate that. And as you celebrate a small success, yes, for people who really like their car, that's a big deal. As you celebrate the small stuff, as you dance and play and smile, you allow wonder and magic and mystery in the small things. Life gives you more of dance and play and smiles, of wonder and magic and mystery. So this is what I really, really want everyone to walk away with tonight, is that some of the change we're going through is going to hurt. Some's going to be messy. As much as possible, try to find things to celebrate and try to share those celebrations with others. Don't get caught up in the pain or the difficulty or the struggle. Don't get angry or frustrated. When anger and frustration come up, what do? You feel it, yeah. You feel it, you let it go. You can't ignore it, but you feel it and you let it go. And then next to it, you look and see if there's some excitement or some happiness. You don't get to ignore the bad stuff. It's still going to be there. So you acknowledge it, you deal with. But then what you invest your energy in, what you really focus on moving forward, is what you want. And I imagine that most of you want to be happy, healthy, to have a life that's fun, that you understand, that makes sense, to be in power and stable. And so these are the things we focus our energy on. Not the confusion, not the pain, not the loneliness. Right? Feel the one, allow it, but then focus on the pieces that need celebrated and celebrate them. Let joy, celebration, wonder become habits. And they're habits that have to be trained, because joy is not easy. It's far too easy to look at life and say, well, this is a problem and that's a problem and I don't like this. Because that's what we're taught. But to actually look and say, yes, but amidst all that, here's one wonderful thing, and I'm going to celebrate that. And nobody's going to stop me from being excited about this wonderful thing. This isn't easy. But once we learn to do it and begin to celebrate even small, wonderful things, it becomes more and more and more common, more easy. And then you're walking to work or just taking a stroll in the evening and perhaps sun glinting off a pond makes this beautiful piece of light, and you stop for a moment and just celebrate it. And your whole day's better because you had this little moment of sunlight. And that might seem impossible to those of you who have difficult or confusing lives. But what happens is celebration is a trainable habit. When we find a small piece of good stuff, ooh, this is good stuff, I can be happy about this, and we celebrate that, we get a little bit better. And we do it again, we get a little bit better. It's when you first learned to walk, probably you took about one step, fell on your butt. But you got up and did it again over years. And now, you know, you can get up and walk from here to there with a cat tripping your feet or a child hanging under your feet and your hands full of things. You don't even think about it. It's easy walking. You see, celebration is like walking. It's a trainable skill. As we learn to look for the things that are wonderful, to look for things that are really amazing, even small things, and to celebrate those, to honor those, to be just for a moment joyful about something wonderful, we find we get a little better. And if we do this 5, 10, 20 times a day over the next 30 days, I guarantee, because life brings back what you're giving out, life is going to bring you lots more things to celebrate. You're just looking for little things to celebrate. You're going to start noticing them. Life will bring you more and more things to celebrate. The same way in that if you smile at everybody for 30 days, you're going to find a lot of people smiling at you. Now, I feel like this is an incredibly simple idea, and like I'm saying it over and over, but I don't feel that everybody gets it. So instead of talking more, I'm going to give you an exercise, a game to play. For each of you, if you have a calendar or a PDA or your cell phone or something, mark off the next the next week. It's fine. Sunday through Saturday. And every one of those 7 days, see if during the day you can find between 5 or preferably even 10 things to celebrate. And take a moment and celebrate them. I know, it seems easy, maybe seems stupid, but I want people to try this. For the next 7 days, every day look around and find 5 to 10 things to celebrate. And when you find one, you might see a kid smiling and think that's really beautiful. You might see a bird flying and think, wow, I wish I could fly, that'd be cool. And then you can celebrate the dream of flying. It might be that, you know, you're walking up in the supermarket and just as you get there, they open a new lane for you. You know, it might be a big thing, it might be a small thing. You might win the lottery and have several hundred million euros extra. Big things, small things. Find 5 to 10 things to celebrate every day. And when they happen, stop and close your eyes for a moment and somewhere inside go, yay. Yay. Right? This is the thing to celebrate. You don't do it out loud if you think people will think you're crazy, but just close your eyes for a moment and go, yay. And celebrate. 5 to 10 things every day for the next 7 days. And then talk to one another about this. Because I think what you're going to find is that more things are going to be coming into your life that are worth celebrating. And things that were already there that you didn't notice are going to be noticed. My concern here is that I can say this wonderfully important idea and everybody will say, yeah, that's nice, that's good, it's good to celebrate, and walk away and not do it. I would like this to become not a theory, but an applied practice, one that you do every day for the rest of your life. And not a duty like I have to get up and brush my teeth, or I have to do sit-ups, or whatever it is you do in the morning. But a joy. You wake up and think, oh, there's something wonderful. I can celebrate that. That's so cool. And having just a tiny bit of that attitude in your life every day will change your world. It will change everything. You'll go from just living to potentially dancing through your day. Just find a small thing to celebrate. Gimli of late has actually been dancing and singing as he's gone down the street. You don't have to do that. Right? It's not necessary to go that far. But when he does, it makes him really happy. He celebrates it. Big smile. So what I'm telling you is something a lot like what Gimli's doing, just smaller. Find little things. Feel gratitude. Feel celebration. And if it's only for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, just hold that. Yay! And then let it go. Forget about it. You don't have to force your whole life to change. Just take a few seconds, 5 or 10 times a day, and celebrate. And do this for the next 7 days. I'd like everybody to seriously try this. It may seem small, but this is a process that will change your life. So we talked for a moment about the well, half an hour about the small things. Let's talk about some big things. Now, I've been telling people all along that the world's changing, and that you can see it everywhere if you know how to look. You can see it in technology. Look at the world 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 10 years ago. The amount of knowledge and technology is increasing exponentially, at least non-linearly, quite a dramatic increase. That 200-300 years ago, technology was the same generation after generation. Horses and raising crops, and the wheel was about the height of technology. And the train was invented. Steamships, telegraph, transatlantic cables. And now the internet and cell phones and texting, we can reach out and touch anyone, anywhere, anytime. 800 channels of meaningless television into your home all day, all night. It's easy to see the change that's happening in the world of technology. It's easy to see the change that's happening in terms of human relations. It hasn't been that long ago, here in the Netherlands, with the whole apartheid thing, where slavery was approved of. It hasn't been that long ago in the United States, where I was from, where slavery was approved, and a huge number of people kept slaves and treated them like animals. And even after the time of outright slavery had passed and human relations had become a little more civil, there has still been a huge amount of prejudice. 40, 50 years ago, most places in the world, if a couple of different races walked down the street holding hands, they would have gotten into all kinds of trouble. Perhaps a man or a woman could lose their job if they were dating someone of a different race. And now, it's quite frequent, it's quite common in many places to see people of different races together, and what's the big deal? Most of us will acknowledge that some of the best-looking Hollywood actors and actresses are ones that come from mixed-race parents. homosexuality is a thing that was deeply opposed by many people for a long time. I mean, that they would beat people, they would kill people, and it was perfectly acceptable. When I was in university, I read in the newspaper that a group of guys had beat some kid to death, and the judge let them off because the boy was a homosexual. That in somehow he taunted them, and so it wasn't really their fault. They beat him to death. And today, well, there are countries where this might still happen, but in the more aware countries in the world, this doesn't happen. In the more aware countries, gay marriage is allowed and even approved. Who you want to love is your choice. Nobody's telling you what you can and can't do. And so you can see that there have been dramatic changes in the social interactions of people. There have been dramatic changes in technology. There have been dramatic changes in the amount of information available to us. Now, it's not been that long ago, a few hundred years, where people might be born, live their entire life, and die, and the closest they get to information is that there is a Bible in the local church that they don't know how to read. This has not been very long ago in human history. And now you can pull up your cell phone and Google anything, and have vast amounts of information at your disposal. In terms of the increase of information, the curve is truly astounding. In terms of, well, I can give you 50 other examples of things that have changed dramatically in the last 50, 100, 200 years. What I want to suggest to you is that it's not coincidence that they're all changing. And it's not even that one's changing and causing all of the others. There are many folks who study the Mayan Prophecies. And the Mayan Prophecies apparently say that towards the end of the cycle, things are going to speed up and speed up and speed up. Terence McKenna, in his work with the I Ching, did something similar back before the Mayan Prophecies were out. He was in some strange drug trip, but he looked to see mathematically what he could do with a Chinese divination tool, the I Ching, and he found that it could be put together in such a way that it created a graph, and the graph exactly matched what he called novelty in the world. When the graph was high, there were dramatic changes in the world. When it was low, things were very stable. And he overlaid this graph on our world, and he found the time of peak novelty in World War II, and he put that to the point where the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, to say, well, this is probably the hugest change, this massive cause of death, the hugest novelty, change, violence, variation. And so this is what he used for his 0 point. And when he ran his chart all the way forward, he said, for the last 50,000 years, the changes have been slow, and they're speeding up as we get towards the end. But if I'm right, that this is the end point, somewhere in 2011, my graph is going to cross the axis and everything's going to change. We're going to hit something totally new, and I don't know what it is. And in effect, what he did without knowing it was to create the same story as the Mayan prophecy, that the rate of change, the increase in novelty, is speeding up and speeding up and speeding up towards the end, and the end is now, 2011, 2012, 2013. So, what I'd like you to understand is that now, right this moment, right, this instant, the second, but 2 years on either side of now, is something that this world has been coming to for millions, perhaps tens of millions of years. Things have been slowly, slowly, slowly speeding up. As far as I can tell, right now is what it's been speeding up to. Now, this may be a little hard to accept, and if you can accept it, it's truly astounding. It's hard to believe that over millions of years, it's all going to culminate in that point, and that point is now. But this is what all the data available to us show. That this huge amount of change that's been steadily increasing in novelty, increasing in speed, increasing in rate of change, that it's all coming to a head now. Out of millions of years of human history, right now. If you can consider for a moment how amazing that is. I mean, 1,000,000 years is a long time. That right now in your life you get to be part of a change this big and this astounding is remarkable. This is a thing to celebrate above anything else in your life. This change is so huge and so amazing. Right now it's going on. And I want you to try and understand that while Elfpath teaches you to be more like yourself, to wake up from the coma that is your life, and to celebrate it, and to live, and if possible to breathe, and to experience, that you could have been doing that for the last 1,000 years or for the next 1,000 years, being a little more awake and alive and aware. And I want you to understand, if possible, is that now is the time when that being awake, that being aware matters so much. Because for the last 10, 12 years building up to that 2011 transition, excuse me, I have to stop here, and for the next 10 years after this 2011 transition, this is the most amazing, remarkable, wonderful, powerful time in the history of the human species. And it's easy to forget this. That now is a time of miracles, now is a time of something so amazing, now is a time of something so phenomenal and beyond human comprehension that for 10,000 years and more from today, they'll still be talking about that was the time. That was the time it all changed. And in the middle of the change, it's not easy to see what's happening. But now is when it's happening. Now is the time to be involved. Now is the time to be as aware as possible in every minute, because these changes are happening after millions of years of sleeping. This world and the people in it are finally waking up. So, I've given you the small piece here. And that is that gratitude every day is going to make your life easier. And I've given you a big piece. It's probably too big for some of you to swallow. That this is it. This is the time in our history that matters. And given those two, I'm going to stop because simply breathing has become a challenge. And I'll give the microphone back to Gimli.
Booyah! More screen time. So, there we have a little bit of celebration, and now you may be thinking, well, of course, you're the swagger man, of course you celebrate being on screen. However, just to show you how easy this celebrating thing really is, let's have an example. I just had Eagle helping me out. I just had Eagle give me a big shaper hug, and that was a very interesting experience. A bit painful, to be honest, but very interesting. I got the headbutt with my fellow sources. Yeah! I went shopping with one of my fellow sources, and I bought him a cool shirt that looks awesome on him. I'm sitting right next to my parents, who are being very supportive of me. Karate this morning was fun. So, as you can see, you don't need to be a swaggerman, you don't need to be an angel in order to do this. It's easy. You can find the examples anywhere, just look around you. So, that's celebrating the small things. Now, let's take a moment and celebrate the big thing. I want everyone in the house to say, yeah! Go ahead. Yeah! And I would like to close with a small reminder. Do make your pictures, post them to us, and you will be able to see the remarkable changes in the coming months too. Thank you. Good evening, folks.
Good job. Yeah.
Well done, Matt.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.